Hello. Hello. Good evening, team. A warm welcome to my session. Myself, Tilvi Annette. I'm working as an assistant instructor in Little Flower Engineering Institute. This is my first time I'm doing a webinar with Nimi, so I'm happy about that. In this webinar, I'm dealing with the topic problem solving through 7 quality tools. So, giving a definition, 7 quality tool is a designation given to a fixed set of graphical techniques identified as being most helpful in troubleshooting related to quality. Let me simplify it. That is, in simple words, 7 quality tools are used to troubleshoot or graphically identified issues related to quality. Now, I will start with the objective of the training. As you can see in the screen, these are the objectives of today's training. First, we talk about the overview of 7 quality tools. Then we will talk about the purpose of each quality tools. Then we will talk about the purpose of each. Then we will talk about the applications. And finally, we'll talk about the benefits of each tool. Now, let us move to the content. Importance of 7 quality control tools. 7 quality control tools are simple statistical tools used for problem solving. These tools were either developed in Japan or introduced to Japan by the quality gurus such as Deming and Juran. Another theorist, Karao Ishikawa, has stated that these tools can be used to solve 95% of all problems. As I said in the introduction, by using quality tool, an organization can improve the quality, decrease cost, improve productivity, decrease price, increase market, provide more jobs, and to obtain more ROI. ROI means return on investment. Now, let us see the 7 quality control tools. They are check sheet, histogram, Pareto diagram, cause and effect diagram, flowchart or process map, scatter diagram, and control chart. These are the commonly used quality tools by the Fortune companies. Steps for problem solving. Problem solving is an ongoing process that is an integral part of everyday life, either at home or at work. A problem must first be felt, understood, and alternative choice created before effective groups can consider its solution, implement the decision, and evaluate how well the solution is working. The initial for problem solving is to identify and decide the situation. A good problem definition states that the current situation and desired situation. Current situation means is defined by facts and desired situation defined as object. Second step is to identify the root cause for the problem. Problem can be any manner or in different types. So once if we can clearly define, state a problem, it helps to get into the root cause of the problem. Once we have done with the identification of root cause, next step is to generate possible solutions. These solutions with hope to will solve the problem and will not cause another problem to develop or make the current situation more worse than the existing problem. Next step is to choose the best solution. The next task is to evaluate and select the potentially best solution for the problem. However, before evaluating, we need to find established criteria for judging solutions. The criteria should define general characteristics that a solution should have. Then the next is implementing the solution. Implementing the solution means is deciding how to put the solution into effect. This step has much values as an action plan has to develop to determine how to implement the solution. Action planning is designed to evolve in value people or build their commitments and increase the likelihood that the solutions will be implemented effectively and on time. Then the final step is verifying the solution effectiveness. Evaluation is probably the most crucial step when problem solving. The purpose of evaluation is to determine how well the solution is working or why the solution may not be working. These are the steps for problem solving. Now, I'm taking one problem as an example and relating this example with the above mentioned step just to give a clear picture about the control process. Now, let us identify the root cause for the problem. Here, our problem is a hospital revenue has dropped by 20%. USD 1000 million in financial year 2016 to USD 18 million, US dollar in 18 million in financial year 2018. Its net promoter score has come down by 30%. The hospital sets up a target to achieve the US dollar 120 million by 2020. So this is our problem. Now let us identify the root cause for this problem. Now to identifying the root cause, we are using the 7 quality control tools such as check sheet, histogram, Pareto chart, scatter diagram, control chart, fishbone diagram, and flow chart. Now, let us identify the root cause of the problem. The first major step of any root cause analysis is to identify exactly what problem or issue your firm is facing. Once you identify the fundamental issues, you need to collect data that proves the intensity of the problem and precisely how it happens. So here we are relying on check sheet. Check sheet as a method, check sheet used to collect data in real time at the location where the data is generated. The data is captured can be quantitative or qualitative. When the information is quantitative, the check sheet is sometimes called a tally sheet. Now let us see how we can collect data for the check sheet. The easiest and most reliable source for data collection is by using the questionnaire method. A questionnaire is a research instrument consisting of a series of questions for the purpose of gathering information from response. From the above example, a sample of 400 patients are chosen using statistical sampling method and survey is being conducted. So this is the prepared survey and this is the output we gathered after the survey. This is the output we get from the survey. Now let us see in this, out of 400, 80 people marked the view as highly satisfied. 50 of them marked as satisfied. 100 of them neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. 150 of them, which is a huge number, marked the views as dissatisfied. Finally, 20 of them are highly dissatisfied. You can get a picture of the CSR rating of the patients from the above mentioned problem. Now, let us move to the second tool, that is histogram. A histogram is a graphical display of data using bars of different heights. In a histogram, each bar groups numbers into ranges. Taller bar shows that more data falls in that range. A histogram displays the shape and spread of continuous sample data. This is one of the example for output data which we get from check sheet. Here we are plotting the graph with the number of patients versus reasons. In the graph, the x-axis is plotted with reasons and the y-axis is plotted with the number of patients. Similarly, from this graph, we can identify the reasons for dissatisfaction of patients. We can identify clearly the dissatisfaction of patients. From this graph, we can understand some reasons why the patients are dissatisfied. These are the reasons which mark the patients unhappy. The first is registration time is too long, bad administration, insufficient doctors, insufficient equipments, insufficient counter staff, issue with payments, problem in fixing with follow-up patients, too many patients at same time. These are the reasons we find from the graph. Now let us move to the Pareto analysis. A Pareto chart contain both bar and line graph. Its individual values are represented in descending order and bars descending order by bars, and the cumulative total is represented by line. Now let us move to Pareto analysis. Originally, the Pareto principle referred to the observation that 80% of result belonging to 20% of the input. More generally, the Pareto principle is the observation that most things in the life are not distributed evenly, some contribute more than others. To explain Pareto chart, I am taking the data we got from the histogram. To plot the Pareto chart, first we have to rearrange the values, that is the number of patients into descending order. Then we have to find the cumulative frequency, and we want to find the cumulative frequency percentage. This is now we can plot a Pareto chart by both these values. So in the x-axis, we plotted the reason, and in the y-axis, we plotted the number of patients' cumulative frequencies. After plotting the graph, we understand that these are the 3 key reasons causing the problem. So solving these 3 reasons, we can solve the 76% of the problem. Now, out of this 9, these 3 are the major issues. If we're solving this problem, we can solve the 76% of all problems. Now, let us see when we use this cause and effect diagram. A fishbone diagram or an Ishikawa diagram is also called as a cause and effect diagram. It helps managers to track down the reasons for imperfections, variations, defects, or failure. This graph looks like a fish skeleton with the problem at the head and the cause for the problem feeding into the spine. When to use this diagram? When identifying the possible causes for a problem, and especially when a team's thinking tends to fall into ruts. Now, let us see when we use this cause and effect diagram. So considering one of the reasons for the problem from the Pareto chart, I have created a cause and effect diagram. The reason I selected is registration time too long, which will mark at effect section. Cause of marks in the spine. So here you can see the causes are marked in the spine. In this, I marked 5 major causes, that is material, people or man, policies, procedures or methods, plant and machine. In this material, I already marked the sub problems. What are the sub problems facing in the material parts? That is inadequate stationaries, new staff, people or man, I draw new staff, aggressive staffs. Then policies, you can see staff can cut the queue registration at any time, irrespective of appointment time. So these are the major causes I identified by using this cause and effect diagram. If I rectify this, I can rectify that 3% of problem we get in the Pareto analysis. Now, the next is scatter diagram. Scatter diagram shows the correlation between two variables. If correlated does not necessarily mean a direct cause and effect. If one variable can be practiced based on the value of the other, then it's correlated. Also, scatter plot have two-dimensional XY plots. To check if there is a correlation between two variables used to show relationship between independent X and the dependent Y variable. Here I am choosing an example of time spent by doctor and patient satisfaction. Here you can see patient hospital number, time spent by doctor, minutes, satisfaction score. So I plotted it into the scatter diagram. You can see a positive scattering. All the dots are moving upwards, and in here the x-axis I plotted the time spent by the doctors, and in the y-axis I plotted satisfaction score by being in the highest. Here we can see more time spent. He can see a positive correlation. If the patient spend more time with the doctor, they will be satisfied more. So that we can understand from this scatter plot. Then moving to next chart is control chart. A control chart is a statistical device used for the study and control of the respective process. It is a device for detecting unnatural patterns of variation in the production process. A control chart is a graphic comparison of process performance in which the permissible limits of variations are marked. These limits are called upper control limit and lower control limit. These are the upper control limit, and you can see a control limit, and also you can see a lower control limit. In control chart, you want to calculate the mean variable upper control limit. Also, you want to calculate the lower control limit. For calculate lower control limit and upper control limit can be calculated based on data from scientific lecture, historical data, statistical data like standard deviation. So here I am showing an example of glucose measurements, day, hours. You can see the glucose measurements, time between the glucose measurements. So first I take the mean and then take the standard deviation. Then you can see the control chart. In this case, the variations was detected on January 11. You can see the graph. There is a variation in January 11. In this, you can see the graph is touches the upper control limit, and all the other are in the control limits. The corresponding data point was above the upper control limit, and the root cause for the variations need to be investigated. So we want to identify what is the problem affected in 11 Jan 70, because in this graph you can see a upliftment of the graph in graph on that date. Then moving to the benefits of control chart. Control charts are made with the existing data. Suggestions, if necessary, are implemented based on the chart. Post implementation, the mean and the control limits of the control charts will vary depending on the effectiveness of the implementation. They are helpful for analyzing a process before and after an improvement as well. Helps to see how process mean and variability change as a result of the improvement. Now, the final is flowchart. A flowchart is a type of diagram that represents a workflow or a process. A flowchart can also be defined as a diagrammatic representation of an algorithm. It is a step-by-step approach to solving a task. A flowchart shows the steps as boxes of various kinds and their order by connecting the boxes with arrows. These are the symbols for using for to draw a flowchart. These are the major symbols we are using to draw a flowchart. And if we start, I will show an example. You just look at this pictures. For starting a flowchart, you want to know these pictures, these symbols. The first one represent one step in the process, and this arrow represent the direction of the flow. Then the third symbol represent the decision based on a question. Then the fourth one is delay or wait, and the fifth one is linked to another page of flowchart, and the sixth one is input or output. Then the seventh one is document. We are representing the document in a flowchart, and the final start and endpoints. It represents the start and endpoints of a flowchart. So these are the main symbols we are using when we're drawing a flowcharts. So this is an example. Suppose the lamp doesn't work. We are relating this course, or we are plotting down a flowchart for this course. First, we have to check whether lamp is plugged in or not. If it is not plugged in, please plug in and check whether the issue have been solved. Still is pertinent the issue, you want to check the bulb is burned or not. If it is, if the bulb is not burned, you want to give the lamp for repair. So this is the way you want to construct a flowchart. And flowchart will understand the current process and identify the opportunities for improvement. It shows the workflow through the process, including all activities, decisions, delays, and measurement points. This is another example for flowchart. When a patient come to the hospital, first patients enter the hospital, then he go to the registration counter. If the patient is not registered, so the patient want to, that is no. If the patient is not registered, the patient want to fill the registration form. If the patient is registered, first they check the weight, height, blood pressure, and all other things. Then after checking that, they will consult the doctor. Then while consulting the doctor, the patient will leave the hospital. Then the flowchart will stop. This is the way how to construct a flowchart. And that's all. Thank you all of you. And that's all about my presentations. If you have any questions, you can ask. Hello. Hello. If you have any questions, you can ask me. There's a question. What are the how to divide course in fishbone diagram, and what is stratification? Actually, stratification is a system of formation of layers, classes or categories. Stratification is used to describe a particular way of arranging seeds while planting as well as the geological layer of rocks. I show a picture. Just wait. Avi Prakash, please look at this slide. Here you can see stratification is a system of formation of layers, classes or categories. Stratification is used to describe a particular way of arranging seeds while planting as well as the geological layer of rocks. That means you can see in this diagram, in the upper portion, you can see the person. In the second layer, you can the upper middle class. In the third layer, you can see the, so this is a classical representation. You want to category based on the rating. So that is means stratification. Then you ask one more question, that is how to draw a fishbone diagram. For if you draw a fishbone diagram, first you want to draw a skeleton like this. If the skeleton is look like a fish, in the head part you want to put your effects. Whatever problem in your hand, first you want to put the most problem in this effect side, and then afterwards you want to write the causes for rectifying that problem. Okay, and in this case you can use the 7M technique that I'm uses, that will I use in the slide also, and you can refer that. So I think you can clear that. I think you clear about how to draw the fishbone diagram and where you want to write the causes and where you want to put the effects. I think it will be clear for you.